Good morning, my little nerds. I am Dr. Shireen Idris, a cosmetic dermatologist based in New York City. Please do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe below before I begin. I'm speaking pretty fast because somebody said that my introductions were too long, and I do read every single comment, so I saw your comment. That being said, let's dive in. Today, we are going to talk about acne scarring. It's not all created equal. It's not all about having rough patches all over your face. And people often assume scars have to be textural. But what I find most fascinating is actually the color component of your scar, because you can fake it and you can cause an optical illusion, giving off the appearance of an even skin if your color is even. And this is why I say an even skin tone is next to godliness, okay? Write that down. An even skin tone is number one in my book. Then we talk about everything else. So same applies to scarring, especially acne scarring. When you think of a scar, it's not just the texture, it's also the color. And when we're thinking of the color, usually there's two main, red or brown. So let's start with redness, often referred to as post-inflammatory erythema from acne. And it can appear red, but it can also appear pink or even purple. And the varying different densities of redness can give off the appearance of more severe scarring or not, when in fact, the actual textural change is quite similar across the board. So this is obviously most evident in people who are pale AF. However, don't be confused, because darker skin tones, you're talking about the caramel tones and even the brown tones. Redness can oftentimes misleadingly appear as brown. And this is a very important point, because you might go down a rabbit hole of trying to treat brown discoloration if you're a darker skin tone, when in fact you do have underlying redness being masked because you're more pigmented and you have more melanin in your skin. How does redness appear? Inflammation usually causes dilated blood vessels. With dilated blood vessels, we have more vascularity and we have redness. It's very simple. Any skin tone can get it. Even the darkest of the dark skin tones can have underlying redness that's just not as evident. But it can be there, giving off more shadowing and making some textural changes appear more prominent. And so you really need to differentiate whether or not you have redness or if your skin is just pigmented. So I have here a picture of my husband, who I tortured earlier today. Our redness, we take this little glass. You can use any glass to do this test. And I'm sorry I'm out of focus. I'm gonna jam this in my husband's face and you can see how it blanches. FYI, my husband is the worst patient I have ever had in my life. I am married to him, and to this day he asks me what to do, even though I've probably repeated myself, no joke, 1,000,000 times. And it's okay if I call him the worst patient, because he is. But he had a full-on acne flare-up when he had a beard, which he refused to actually treat or talk to me about. When he finally went back into the office and had to shave, his acne scars were evident. And honestly, this is a very unfortunate situation. But he has a lot of post-inflammatory erythema. And so when you press down on the redness, you see here that it blanches. And so that's how you can tell the difference. Anything that is vascular is going to turn white when you apply pressure on it. And looking through a glass is going to be a very easy test you could do. So now that you are able to differentiate whether or not your scarring has redness, how do you help yourself treat the redness? And this is where over-the-counter products can actually be helpful. First things first, though, before we, open up our wallets, time. Time is of the essence, but like inventing Anna Delvey said,
I do not have time for this. I do not
we don't have time for it. Why do you want to treat the redness and not necessarily wait for the redness to resolve on its own over time? Because it can actually turn brown. How can it turn brown? It can become oxidized, and that brown can become like basically iron deposits on your surface of your skin, and those are very hard to treat. So while you have an active acne breakout, you want to treat it. A very quick, easier fix, and this is not an acne video, that you can help kind of minimize some of that superficial inflammation on your skin is utilizing hypochlorous acid. This is one from Walgreens. It is a cleansing spray. We use this in office before procedures. There's also the Tower 28 SOS spray. But if you have superficial eczema, light redness, kind of like an inflamed skin barrier, and you just want to try to calm it down a little bit without using a steroid, which we'll get to in a minute, you can use hypochlorous acid, but that's not going to treat the redness. That's just going to calm things down. If you're trying to treat redness, niacinamide is actually a great ingredient to add, but not all niacinamide is created equal. Anything between the 3 to 5% range. I like this one by Glossier. It is also fortified with zinc, which has anti-inflammatory properties. There are also moisturizers on the market like La Roche-Posay's Toleriane moisturizer, like this one, which has niacinamide as well to help minimize inflammation and minimize redness. Number 2, and this one is not necessarily something I would recommend for those who are actively dating, but sulfur can actually also be an anti-inflammatory that you can help yourself with. This is one from a very under the radar brand, De La Cruz, called Acne Treatment. It is 10% sulfur, as you can see over here. It actually is quite pasty. Do not be scared of it if you do break out, because sulfur has anti-inflammatory benefits, but it can kind of smell like rotten eggs. So if you are active on Tinder or Hinge or on the dating scene, you might want to slow it down on this just before a date. But once you know you ditched the person, go home and put this on. It will help. Moving on, Centella asiatica. Centella is one of those ingredients that actually works wonders when it comes to redness. Dr. Jart has a whole tiger grass serum line. The reason I like this one also is because it is green, and green counterbalances red and makes it appear less prominent. So I will show you. Do you guys see that? It's a very lightweight serum. It doesn't feel oily at all. It gets absorbed very quick. And yes, it does become transparent, but do not underestimate even the tiniest bit of a green hue. So this is Dr. Jart's Cicapair, but I also found at Walgreens this guy, Cicatricure, which has centella in it. And this one is a cicatrice in French, basically means scar. And this guy is for scars. But again, if you're thinking scar is textural and you're using this and you're trying to make the texture go away, good luck. You can use this for 100 years, it will not help. But if you are using this because you have redness and you want that redness to get minimized, this may actually be a nice adjunct. And it is a very lightweight gel. So you're not gonna feel like you're clogging your skin, especially people who've had active acne who are paranoid of clogging their skin. This is a nice one for redness, okay? Cicatricure from Walgreens, Cicatricure, okay? So that is that one. Now, azelaic acid is another one. We did a whole video on azelaic acid a few weeks ago. It is a beautiful one to help minimize inflammation. Paula's Choice has a 10% azelaic acid booster, as does the Ordinary. Now, they may not be the most cosmetically elegant formulas, so they pill. I would use these definitely at night, without a doubt. Finally, we have some quick fixes, which are, and I do not recommend these. I only recommend these quick fixes if you're getting married, you want to do it for the day of the event, you have a red carpet event, whoever you are in the world, you have a big, presentation, you want to minimize any sort of redness, anything like big, this is what I would recommend, just for like a day before and the day of, but not longer than that. So do not quote me as a treatment for redness. This is not a long-term treatment for redness. It is on a pinch if you need something fast, and do not get this in your eyes. Also, I would not keep this by the side of your bed if you are actively dating, just because it might be a turnoff. But Preparation H ointment. And the reason this works is because it has phenylephrine, which is a vasoconstrictor. It constricts the superficial red blood vessels. And so it minimizes the appearance of redness. It is not a long-term treatment. It is not a long-term treatment. It is not a long-term treatment. I cannot emphasize that enough. And this works once your acne has resolved and you have just the redness. If you have active acne and you have an event, you can go in for a steroid shot from your dermatologist. Again, not a long-term treatment, just to get you by on a pinch. You can even try using over-the-counter cortisone, but I would not recommend those as long-term treatments. And I cannot emphasize that enough. Those will help you fake it till you make it. PIH is the second form of color when it comes to acne scarring. And you have hyperpigmentation and hypopigmentation. So starting with post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, when we have brown spots, why do we get the brown spots? Because inflammation basically causes an overproduction of melanin in the epidermis, and this is through inflammatory mediators like reactive oxygen species. It can even have melanin seep in down deeper into the dermis, which is more unfortunate and harder to treat. How can you tell the difference? You can use a Woods lamp, which is basically a type of light that could differentiate the pigment. And if it lights up, that means that the melanin is in the epidermis and it's going to be easier to treat with over-the-counter products that you can find. If it doesn't light up, then you're probably going to have to go see a dermatologist for laser treatment. What are the treatments for post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation? I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I do not care. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is sunscreen. And you want a broad-based sunscreen covering for UVA and UVB. And if it is tinted, it is better. Why? Because iron oxide helps as well with more visible light. And so this is one by Isden that I really like. It is zinc oxide. It is a mineral-based one. It is so lightweight, so lightweight. It's not the perfect tint for everyone. So it has a ways to go. It's not even the perfect tint for me. I do look orange a little bit when I use this. But as long as you get it in, let it settle, and then you can use your makeup over it, you'll probably be fine. I look like I get a fake tan when I use this. I have to make sure I really go all the way down and I don't let things look whiter. Just FYI. But it's a really nice lightweight one. But again, any physical mineral sunscreen with UVA, UVB in a tint of your choice, ideally that has many different tints, can be a great adjunct. That's number 1. Number 2, hydroquinone. Honestly, my baby, my most favorite ingredient that has been chastised and it doesn't deserve it. One day we will do a deep dive on hydroquinone. It used to be much more available over the counter. You can find it usually at 2% at stores like Ambi has a 2% different, which has become much harder to find, has a dark spot correcting serum, but I think they've now changed the formulation and it's very hard to find this version of it, which had the 2% hydroquinone. But hydroquinone can definitely help minimize your pigmentation and do it very effectively. If you want to use it, go find a dermatologist and use it under their supervision. Exfoliating with lactic acid is also a big helpful one. Shani Darden has just come up with her lactic acid exfoliating serum. It is a very lightweight serum. And it's really not very irritating. Glycolic tends to be more irritating than lactic acid. I just basically took off all that sunscreen. And so if you are somebody who has darker skin tone, scared of getting irritated by an exfoliating acid, lactic acid is going to be your gem, and it also helps with pigmentation. So definitely look into exfoliating with lactic acid. And then, like I said, for the redness, azelaic does help as well. It helps with pigmentation. If you want to know how, watch the deep dive video. I will link it below. Anything between 10 to 20%. I actually prefer the 15% gel over the 20% cream, as it has been proven in studies to be more effective. Proving my point that percentages are not always everything again. And last, actually not last, arbutin. Arbutin is a precursor to hydroquinone. It is debatable whether or not you can use it during pregnancy. I would speak and defer to your OB regarding this point. Most people are going to tell you, 99.9% of people are going to tell you, do not use it in pregnancy, because why take the risk? Because they're trying to cover their own ass, myself included. So I probably would not recommend using arbutin in pregnancy because it is a precursor to hydroquinone, but I don't think I have, at least not to my knowledge, as of currently, there have been any studies suggesting any detrimental effects to babies, but no one is ever going to do a study on a pregnant person. But arbutin is a great ingredient if you're not pregnant and you have post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. SkinCeuticals has a product that combines 3% azelaic, which is slightly too light, so kind of useless in my book, with 2% arbutin, which is actually a sweet spot. And I would use this more for the arbutin effects than the azelaic effects, but it is nice. It is green-ish, so if you have redness, it can slightly help, but I don't think 3% azelaic acid is going to be enough, so I would not buy this for redness. I would buy this if you have more pigmentation issues. Inculist also has an arbutin, and I can't find it in my skincare library, but I know I have it in there somewhere. But the Inculist arbutin is also one worth looking into. And ascorbic acid, our favorite vitamin C. This is an extremely old one, a mini one, which I had as a sample from SkinCeuticals. CE ferulic is one that is also useful as an adjunct. Is it going to make your pigmentation disappear? No, probably not. But it's going to minimize how much pigmentation you form. Because remember, the reactive oxygen species, vitamin C is a very strong antioxidant that helps to fight that. And moving on to the last two, we have tranexamic acid, which orally for melasma can work wonders. Topically, it's still debatable as how good it is. But honestly, if you have post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation or even melasma, I throw the kitchen sink at it and I always include it in my menu of ingredients. Murad has a rapid spot correcting serum, and this actually made me sad when it came out with the reformulation because this used to be hydroquinone based, but they had taken it off because of that 3-letter word group that we're not going to talk about. So now it is tranexamic acid based. So Murad's dark spot correcting serum, as well as SkinCeuticals Discoloration Defense over here has tranexamic acid. And last, retinol. Retinol or retinoids. Retinoids are going to be stronger. Things like adapalene, which different. This one costs $19.99. I have my price sticker. You can get this at your local CVS. La Roche-Posay has one as well, Effet Clair. You can try this formulation to see if it works better for you. Those are available over the counter. They're almost as strong. They are pretty much as strong as prescription strength tretinoin, so don't burn off your face. If you're very sensitive, use a retinol instead. Moving on to PIH hypo, when you have white spots or lighter spots, this is very hard to treat with just over-the-counter products. You're going to need to see a dermatologist. Elidel is a prescription that you can ask for and get, educated about. It is a non-steroidal, so it's not going to run the risk of thinning out your skin over time. So you don't want to use a steroid like cortisone over a long time because it can thin out your skin, causing other problems. And so it's one that you try. I've also tried using Latisse, Bimatoprost, which is usually an eyelash serum in hypopigmented spots in conjunction with various lasers. Second class of acne scars are texture, but that's going to be a video for another day because texture is more wide-ranging. We have ice pick scars, we have rolling scars, we have boxcar scars, and this one, I would say, once you've addressed the color, we address the texture. So you have a lot of work you could do for yourself right now. The only one, when you're talking about scarring, that you can actually do for yourself is hypertrophic scars or even keloids. Hypertrophic scars grow within the limits, whereas keloids grow outside the limits and are more like mushroom-like. And you can try to help yourself if you have hypertrophic scars or even keloids by using silicone sheets. You can get silicone tape, or you can even buy Scar Away. And these help to keep them flat. So something you could do if you are getting hypertrophic scars, like more bumpy, outwardly scars, you can put silicone patches at night while you sleep to help flatten them over time. In office, we would probably even inject them with a steroid or even 5-FU. And if you guys want to know more about textural scars, let me know below. I did not realize this video would now hit almost 20 minutes. I was trying to make a short video, but I will see you guys next week with another topic of the day. Let me know what you guys want to learn more about. I'm Dr. Shireen Idris signing off. I hope you guys have a very safe and stress-free weekend.